Hi everyone, this is AK, and I want to take a little time today to discuss an experiment that I did in one of my instructional design classes using digital badges with gamification. So, the roadmap for this presentation is I'm going to talk a little bit about the gamification framework that I used, apply that framework to the schedule, talk a little bit about digital badges for Instructional Design 619, what the badges were, how they worked out, and just some ideas for future if I get to teach this course again. Just a little background about this course. This course is called The Design and Instruction of Online Learning. It's taken by students in the Instructional Design MED program. And at the time I taught it, as you can see from the number 619, it was fairly low in the course numbering scheme, which meant that people used to take it without a lot of prerequisites. In more recent semesters, it's been renumbered, and that's to signal that it has more prerequisites for students to enter the course. So students tend to enter the course with a little bit more knowledge. The main gamification framework that I used was Manrique's gamification framework from the Epic Win blog. And it breaks down the experience into a few different stages: the onboarding stage, the mid game stage, the end game stage, and then an everlasting experience. And those onboarding and mid game stages have early and late components to them. If we apply this to how the semester works, week zero is the week before class starts, where I usually send students a welcome email, introduce them to the course, send them a syllabus. This is all before the learning management system is available to them. This way they have a sense about what the course is about. Week two is when add drop typically ends, so students are still entering the course even though week two is still progressing. So as I was designing this course at the time, the early onboarding was the first couple of, or the first week of the class plus week zero. Late onboarding, when onboarding was wrapping up, was week two, as maybe some late students were added to the course in week three as everything was normalizing. Week four through nine was kind of the core content stage of the course, where learners got a lot of background theory, how to's in the course. Weeks 10 through 12 were a combination of students designing final projects, getting feedback, implementing them, getting some more feedback, and then finally presenting everything to the class. And then week 13 is kind of a wrap up and reflection time period. So, gamification mechanics. These are the things that were useful with very little modification. So, from early onboarding, things like an avatar, and most learning management systems have a way of representing the person in the course, be it with a picture of themselves or a picture of one of their favorite game characters or what have you. But it's a way of getting learners to demonstrate their individuality and getting a sense of who they are. That way, when you're discussing things in the forum, it's not just a nameless question mark that's popping up with a picture. Looking at things like the game mechanics and explaining how those work, that's kind of explaining how the course will work, and what students will be able to do by the end of the course and how we'll achieve all that. The quests are sort of like our deliverables for the class, be they things like assignments that are graded, or things that are non-graded or collectively have a grade, like the participation grade. And then various tutorials, which typically for me are week zero, week one, getting to know the course, reading the syllabus, looking around in the course, finding things, and so on. Um, Level 2 mechanics, late onboarding. This is when I started introducing the idea of badges to my students. And I did tell them that it was an experiment that I was running to see whether people liked it, whether they found value, whether it motivated them, and so on. Different types of progress bars for the course, which usually tend to do with grades. Same thing with experience points. Around mid-level of the course, there's a customization opportunity where learners really get to pick what they want to do. There's only so much time that we have in the course, and we can't really cover everything. So, from our treasure chest of theory options and applications of online learning, having students be able to pick what they want to learn more about and then share that with others in the class is where one element of customization came in. So when you have different cohorts of students in the same class, semester by semester, you're not really going to get the same exact learning experience because the people in it are different and they have different interests. Um, you might think, oh, hey, this sounds like a jigsaw activity. And you're very right. Jigsaws is one of the things that I used. Late mid game is when Easter eggs kind of came in. These are things that are not advertised, but they exist. And when students do something that merits a congrats, you discovered this. This is when an Easter egg badge dropped, and I'll talk a little bit about more of those in a little while. And then looking at various game constraints, ensuring that the rules of the class are stable. You're not changing the class in mid semester unless there's a really really good reason, and so on. And then finally, end game. What do you do when you reach near the end of the class? I was looking at things like teamwork and different types of associations of students that people come together and they share what they know and they help others achieve. Looking at social areas, things like a water cooler forum or a cafe, or encouraging people to share in those areas and things of that nature. And then finally, this is the everlasting experience. What happens when you leave the class? What do you have? And even though this says vanity item, I think badges kind of fall into that category for me because it's something that was unique to the class that I designed that didn't exist in other classes. So I think it was something that students would actually like. At least this is what I thought going in. All right, here we are, badges. What is a badge? I'm pretty sure that you've seen this graphic before, the anatomy of a badge. But very briefly, a digital badge has a name associated with it, a description, which is a little more in depth about what the heck this is about, the criteria. So, what did I have to do as a learner, as a gamer, as a participant in order to earn this? Who issued this? So, why should anybody care that I got a badge from whoever? Does the authority of the issuer have any weight? When it was issued, and whether it expires, and evidence. How can others see what I did in order to earn this? So why did I use badges in 619? Well, there are two reasons. One was very specific recognition. A class can be very opaque at times, and as I said, because learners in different cohorts would be able to complete the class but not necessarily take the same exact path, the skill set that they developed at the end of the class would have some common components and some unique components. So making those unique components visible to somebody outside is really important to me. And then motivation to produce better final projects. As I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, the course was something that students could take early on, as early as second semester. And that means that they may not have had enough production courses in e-learning to be able to create something really amazing. So the quality of excuse me, of final projects kind of varied a lot. So you always kind of graded them on a curve. Um, the redesign of the course, when it was renumbered to 684, addresses some of this, but badges addressed some part of this as well in 619. So I had some badges that were known and some that were unknown, or my Easter eggs. So an example of known badges are the LMS Initiate, or the LMS Newbie, and this was instituted because learners had the option of designing in a variety of learning management systems. So they can pick one, and they can design their final project in it. And somebody who designs in Canvas will have a slightly different skill set than somebody that designs in Blackboard, than somebody who designs in Moodle, and so on. So the LMS that they chose for their final project would dictate what sort of badge they get. The design competition had gold, silver, and bronze, and this was something that students voted on. So they got to see all of their classmates' work at the end of the semester, and they decided, they voted on who should get the top 3 prizes. And this particular badge was designed so that I could encourage students to up their game a bit. These are some of the discovered Easter egg badges. These were hidden. On the left, we have a discussion initiator, discussion kindler, and a helping hand. And what that means is that I wanted to recognize students who jumped in consistently early on and posted in the forum. And they didn't leave their discussion forums all the way at the end of the module. So some students would just come in and do all their discussion forum posts in 1 or 2 days, but the people who started early tended to also continue and help engage in discussion throughout the week. This is also where the discussion kindler comes in, somebody who does more of the discussion posting than they have to. So the typical posting guidelines at the time was post 1 original posts and 2 responses to peers. But there were people who posted 7, 8, 9 responses, and they got really engaged in the class. And these are also people that saw that, hey, maybe my classmate didn't get any responses to their initial post. I would step in as a learner, or they would step in as a learner and help get that discussion going. And so they made sure that everybody in the class was included. On the right-hand side, I have a sharing is caring with a little mushroom on there for Super Mario, like a power-up, something beyond the course, and Bug Squasher. Sharing is caring is kind of exactly what it sounds like. If a student had resources that would solve another student's problem or bottleneck, they would share throughout the semester. Beyond the course is students connecting with literature, not just from the literature that we had in the weekly modules, but also connecting with other classes in the program and other resources that they've come up with. Bug Squasher is for people who help me figure out dead links in the course, things that didn't work, they help me troubleshoot, and so on. One of the undiscovered Easter egg badges was the Beyond the Basics. In the class, I had required readings and optional readings, and if students did the optional readings and they demonstrated that they had done them by citing them in the discussion forums, they would get this badge. Nobody earned this. Some students did go beyond the basics 1 or 2 weeks, but I actually had a 5 week minimum in my mental rubric for making this available. So, some facts and figures. As I mentioned earlier on, this was an experiment and students had to opt in to be part of it. And they did that by the end of week 2. And how many people earned the various badges? As you can see, 2 students were constantly initiating discussions throughout the course. There were 5 students who were very active in the forum and were helping other students get recognized and participating in their own forums. Helping hand, a lot of students in the class helped out their peers. A few people were bug squashers, and some people went beyond the course. So, as you can see, students got very engaged, and a few people did unlock the Easter eggs. And I didn't give students specific directives to not tell other students that they discovered a bug. I actually posted an announcement every time somebody discovered an Easter egg and said, "Hey, congratulations to so and so for discovering this hidden badge. Here's how you earn it now that it's been earned once. Go off and basically earn it if you want." So some lessons learned from this particular class. Writing testimonials and providing evidence for some of the behavioral badges, like, for example, the discussion initiator and the discussion kindler and the helping hand, was really time consuming. It's sort of like writing a mini recommendation for somebody who's applying to another program to graduate school. I discovered too that most Easter eggs were revealed to the class by week 6, which is about halfway through the semester. So, on the one hand, I really liked that students discovered all these hidden gems that I had for them. On the other hand, I'm kind of wondering if I should have some more to make students a little more inquisitive. Generally speaking, students who earned the badges really liked the recognition. They liked having that token that they achieved something, but many of them just said that there was no significant boost in motivation. So whether they had the badge or not, according to the learner, would not really boost their motivation to do well in class. And for the most part, knowing that their fellow peers would be voting on their final project and knowing this early on in the class encouraged quite a few students to really up their game and design a final project that was better than they would have done otherwise. So some challenges for me and something to think about. So this was just one course. I did this for 2 or 3 semesters. And the MED program that this course is part of is actually a 12-course MED program. So how do badges fit into the MED program overall? And how do you get other faculty members, to participate in this? Because the true power of any badging type program is really in that ecosystem. One class does not stand on its own. There is a program of study overlap in this course. That was true back then and it's true now. Instructional Design 619, 684 is used both for the MED and for the 2 graduate certificates that exist in the program. It fits different needs, but the needs are complementary. So that's something to think about. So what types of badges you design for the course kind of also need to fit into the program of study overall, and if the course is factored into more than one course, then it makes things a little more challenging. And finally, what I've discovered years later is that there is something that I call a platform decay. I designed all these in Credly. Credly still exists, but their free product no longer exists. So where the heck are these badges now, and how portable are they? If I put them in my backpack and that Credly no longer exists, can students really show this off? Some possible future directions here as I wrap up. I really want to rethink all of the current assignments if I do get back to this course. I am much more of a generalist now, so I go to whichever course needs me rather than sticking to one course, which is what I used to do. So if I do get back to owning this course, I do want to think of all the assignments first and think about the skills demonstration, the learning outcomes, and how those tie in not just to the assignment itself, but also to badges. I want to use badges instead of grades, sort of like a pass, not pass, because everybody is thinking about getting the maximum possible grade in the class. They're focusing on the grade and not on what they can do. So I'm thinking if badges can be replaced for grades for demonstrating certain skills, that will take the mind off learners from just the numerical. The mid-game experience, that week 6 might need a little improving. As I said, the Easter eggs were all discovered by then, and there is this feeling around mid-game or mid-semester that this is what we're doing. We know the pattern. We read some things, we write some things, we do some things, we go back and do the same thing next week. So how do you spice things up in the class? I've been thinking about student-sourced badges. So in addition to things that are program level outcomes, what do students value and how can we demonstrate that? Create an open course, so something like a MOOC, for example, and how that fits in with the course, graduate students' badges. And I've been wanting to engage alumni mentors, people who have been um, designing online courses, be it in higher ed or corporate settings, for a few years now, coming back and providing pointers to people doing this for the first time. And this might be especially important in that competitive aspect. And here is my citation for the Epic Win blog. But that is basically it. That's my 2 or 3 semester experiment with gamification and digital badges. Thank you for listening, and if you have questions, let me know. Have a good one. Bye-bye.